Hi guys, it's Olivia here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you the answers to the Bookish section of my Q&A. So on Instagram I recently asked you for questions for a Q&A video. I know people usually do it as a subscriber milestone or something, but I just wanted to answer some questions, so I was like, put them to me. And you guys asked me a lot of bookish questions, but you also asked me a lot of non-bookish questions. So I decided to split the video into two, so that we'll answer bookish questions now, and in the next one we'll answer non-bookish questions. So I'm going to get right down to the questions. So the first question that I was asked was, what is my favourite book of 2018 so far? And I'm very bad at choosing favourites. In fact, at the end of the year, as I've done in previous years, I'm going to do my best books of 2018 video, but for the sake of this question, I decided I'm going to answer with three categories. So I'm going to answer with my favourite poetry collection, my favourite young adult book so far, and my favourite literary fiction or classic book so far. So for poetry collections, my favourite has been Ariel by Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath is my favourite poet, and I'm just so glad that I finally found a beautiful edition of Ariel. I was really looking for one before I bought it, and I read it, and of course I loved it. And for young adult, I have to go with The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, just because the bookish hangover I had after reading that was insane. I haven't fangirled so hard about something in a long time like I did with The Raven Cycle. I've got a book review of The Raven Boys, which I'll link down below, and a book review of The Dream Thieves 2, which is the second one in the series, if you want to know more about the books. And it even drew me to start reading fan fiction. I don't read fan fiction often, but when I feel like a pick-me-up, I read Raven Cycle fanfic. That's the only fanfic I read, so that's how good the book was. And then in terms of classics and literary fiction, I've gone with Hamlet by Shakespeare. It's one of the ones I've most recently read, which might be why it's a favourite at the moment, but I just thought it was so brilliant. It's amazing. It's such a good play, and it discusses so many things. The depth to it is amazing, and I cannot with how much I liked Hamlet. And then I watched the David Tennant BBC adaptation, and I loved that as well, and I'm going to watch some more adaptations. There's one with Andrew Scott, who plays Moriarty in Sherlock, and there's also one done by Zeffirelli, and he is the director of my favourite Romeo and Juliet adaptation, so I'm looking forward to watching his adaptation of Hamlet as well. The next question that I was asked is that if you could experience a book for the first time, what book would you want to experience again for the first time? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I'm going to say Twilight, but that's not true. I like rereading Twilight, and I think if I experienced it for the first time again, I wouldn't enjoy it. The two series I would love to experience for the first time are two of my all-time favourite series that I don't talk about enough. One of them is Gone by Michael Grant. In this series, it's all teenagers who are under the age of who I believe under the age of 16. A dome suddenly appears across this city, and all the adults, poof, they disappear and they just go. So all you're left with are, I believe, 15-year-old or younger kids. And also some of these kids, not all of them, some of them start to develop powers, like the power of invisibility, the power to create illusions, but not all of them. And as well as that, as soon as you turn 16, I believe it is, as soon as you turn 16 or 17, you disappear, and no one knows where you goes. The first book was good, but the problem with that series, not the problem, the amazing thing about that series is that with each book, it gets better. The second book is better than the first, the third book is better than the second, the fourth better than the third, and so on, until the final book, you just go out in a blazing fangirl ball of how is this author so amazing. And when I reread the series, I haven't reread it all the way through, I've only reread the first one, and I feel like, oh, this book is not as good as like the last one is, but that's because they do get better. And if I could just start from a clean slate, I think I'd be able to reread all the way through, but I am planning to reread all the way through once I own all the books, because I read those back in the time when I was borrowing from the library. And I would also want to reread Noughts and Crosses for the first time by Mallory Blackman. And this book, the premise of this book is that the author has switched racism. So instead of there being white privilege, the ones who are privileged are the black people, and the white people are the ones who are oppressed. And a lot of stuff goes down. The ending left me heartbroken. Like, I was reading, I was like, she's not going to do this, she's not going to do this, she's not going to do this, oh my goodness, what did she just do? That's literally how shook I was. And then throughout the rest of the, I believe, 4 books, she just keeps discussing and hitting important terms and discussion points. It was so amazing, and because of the whole deal with Brexit and Trump going on now, the authors felt drawn to add a 5th book to the series, so I'm so looking forward to that, and I wish I could reread the whole series from a clean slate. Have your reading habits changed since starting a blog and booktube? And yes, they have. I read more. I read way more than I used to read. The thing is that I never didn't read a lot. I used to read a lot. I used to read like, let's say 3 books a month or 4 books a month, and now my minimum is 6 books a month, and I nearly always hit 100 books a year, which to some people, to some booktubers, they're like, that's not much, but to like everyday person, they're like, mind blown. And I feel like I read a way more. Like some months I hit 12 books in a month, and even if I think about it and try to actually comprehend it, it shakes me. I also read a lot more underhyped books because of my blog. I do like to review popular books, but I also do want to raise awareness of smaller books that are really good. I've read some amazing self-published books, I've read some amazing small press published books, and I do read more underhyped books because I do want them to get out there while I still want to also enjoy popular books and classics. And I also read more genres because I like the idea of reading every single genre, so I think I'm pretty much there. I feel like the only genre I'm missing out is true crime, and that's because I didn't know it existed until like recently. So next year I'm going to try true crime, but I read almost every single genre now. If you could change one thing from a book, what would you change? And the first thought that I thought was like I would unwrite Wuthering Heights, and I would unwrite Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. Like I would just totally burn those. But I decided I would go with changing the ending to City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. That's the last one in the Mortal Instruments series, and I love that series so much, but that last book just didn't do it for me as an ending. First of all, she starts to integrate another series, the Lady Midnight series, I believe. She starts to integrate into the last book, and that was not necessary. I was not here for that. I was here for the characters of the Mortal Instruments series, so reading all those scenes, it made me dislike the idea of starting Lady Midnight, because I was like, why are you bleeding into this book? Like, no thank you. And then also, she uses a trope that I really hate, and that is a trope of memory loss as a solution to problems, and I just hate that trope. It happens in other books as well, but it being at the end of this series just bothered me, and I didn't like which character she chose to have it happen to, so yes, not something I enjoyed reading. Favourite bookish place or places you would like to visit, and that was very easy for me. I've always wanted to visit the Shadowhunter world. We just talked about the Mortal Instruments. I'd love to meet some Downworlders and just go and hang out with them. I also would love to visit Narnia, only in the summer. I know a lot of people choose Narnia for winter, but I hate the cold and I love summer, and it looked beautiful in the movies during summer, so I'd love to go there, eat a lot of food, talk to some animals and sunbathe. And also lastly, I put Cabeswater. I don't think it would actually be a very good idea for me to go there because I'm not very good at controlling my thoughts. They kind of jump really quickly from place to place, and I think I would think something bad and then it would just shift and it would be disastrous. But I say Cabeswater because if I go to Cabeswater I get to meet someone that we're going to talk about later. I've got a question: if you were a demigod, whose daughter would you be? The answer is Athena. I've done many quizzes and I always get the answer Athena. And also when I was reading Percy Jackson for the first time and they were describing things about Annabeth, I was like, why are you literally describing me? I'm so similar to Annabeth that it just makes a lot of sense. And the fear of spiders, it's real. It's literally the same. And I know a lot of people have arachnophobia these days, but if you meet me and you know my arachnophobia, you would know why I'm so Athena's daughter. It's just crazy. If you went to Hogwarts, which pet would you have chosen? I'm just gonna say an owl because A, an owl is one of my favourite animals. My two favourites are an owl and a dolphin, and B, I don't actually know what the other options are because I'm not a Harry Potter fan. So I know an owl is an option, I think a mouse is, and I think a frog is. I could be wrong, but of those three, I would definitely choose an owl. If you had to recommend a book for people struggling with school, which would it be? I did go through, I don't know where the person who asked this is in school. I did struggle with school a bit. I struggled at one point with the academic side. I really hated maths, really like beyond anything. Hated it to the point that I was not enjoying the academic side of school anymore, and later on towards like the end of secondary school I had like social problems which made me very anxious about going to school. So then if I'm going to take those two sides of things, I tried to incorporate both of them. What shifted my mind and made me actually work hard to be able to pass maths and do maths was reading I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. Oh no, I don't remember her last name. but I Am Malala, which is written by Malala, and I just saw how much she fought to get her education, and it made me really think about all the people who really fight for their education and how blessed I am to have an education just handed to me by my parents paying for me to go to school, that I started to like get my act together, and just, even though it didn't change my perspective of maths, I still hate maths, I started to work harder at it and just tried to appreciate the fact that I was getting educated and all of that. And again, for the academic and slash social side, I would recommend Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. This is about Mel, who, it's a middle grade book, and it's about Mel, and she cannot speak, and she is in a wheelchair, and I don't exactly remember what her disability is, but it's quite severe, and she's very smart. She has a lot of thoughts, but she can't say them, she can't articulate, and then this machine is made which somehow makes her, which actually articulates for her what she wants to say, so suddenly she can speak, and the question is the world ready for her to speak? Because she's just so smart, and she goes to school and lots of things happen, and it just broke my heart literally to read that book. It was such an emotional pull, and it showed me the social difficulties that other people go through in school, and it really encouraged me to do my best in school, and also just to be grateful for the friends that I do have, for the people that do talk to me in school. Not that I was like, I'm making it sound like I had a tragic social experience. I didn't. I just fell out with some friends and got in with some new friends, but felt the pressure of starting into a new friend group for a little bit. It wasn't that bad, but it just helped put things in context. And I would also recommend Wonder by R.J. Palacio, because that's also someone who goes from homeschooled to being schooled, and he has a face deformity. I don't know how to describe it. He doesn't really describe it in the book very much as well. There's a movie of this if you'd rather just watch the movie, and it's about his kind of social, getting used to going from homeschooled to being schooled, the social mixing in with kids, and also how smart he is, and just different things, and it all incorporates that, as well as that it doesn't only stick to his point of view, it goes around his family and some other friends, which I thought was really good, and all of these were just really moving ones that helped me enjoy school more, so I'd recommend those ones. What is your absolutely favourite children's book and why? I don't really have any favourites, and as a child I read quite maturely. I'm going to mention some of the favourites that I liked when I was younger. One of them was the Lady Grace Mysteries. I don't know who these are by. No clue, but the Lady Grace Mysteries, I loved them when I was younger. They're mysteries about this lady-in-waiting in historical England, and she solves mysteries even though like she's not really supposed to be, and she kind of has to do all this court stuff, but she still solves mysteries, and it made it, she was just so cool. I really loved reading them, and it got me into historical fiction, and it got me into reading mysteries. Another series that I read that I just really remember is the Jane Blonde series. You kind of get it. It's this girl who is a spy as her second like life, and it's like making fun of like it's not making fun, it's like a parody of James Bond, because she's female, she's Jane Blonde, and I just remember this when I was younger. I don't know why, I just thought it was really good. And I also read a series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket when I was younger. I hated the ending, the 13th book, it disappointed me so much, but the rest of the series, I just remember it being really good, and lots of people are reading them now because there's a television series out, which is great, and yes. The next question is, did you ever make up scenes in your head when you meet the people in the book, like when you come across the character? And not really. What I do when I hear a character description is I kind of generally ignore it. I remember vague things, but it's kind of like when you have a dream, and in your dream you have a best friend who's not your real best friend, so they kind of remain a bit like faceless, and you don't really see their appearance, but you just inherently know that's your best friend. That's kind of how I am with characters, like they're kind of faceless, and they're kind of not really imagined in my brain, but if I say like Edward Cullen, I've still got an image. Okay, I have an image because of the movies, but if I say like Anne Parish, I have an image, but that's not really an image, if that makes sense. And the last question is, did you ever fall in love with a guy in a book? Who did you fall hardest for? I have a video, which is my top 10 book boyfriends video, which I'll link down below, but it's now a bit outdated, because in that video I mentioned that Edward Cullen is on my list, but not really, because now that I reread those books almost every year, and I much prefer Jasper Cullen over Edward Cullen now. I always have, you know, as a reader you read a lot of books with brilliant guys in them, and you kind of have a list of book boyfriends, so to make the ultimate one I call him my book husband, and for a long time my book husband was Adilio from the Gone series by Michael Grant, which makes a lot of sense up until a certain point where it just wouldn't it wouldn't work out for us. I won't tell you what that point is or why, but if you read the series you might understand. So I recently read The Raven Cycle and I totally fell super hard for Adam Parrish, and he is now my new book husband. So yes, who did I fall hardest for? Adam Parrish. He's even on the back of my laptop as my laptop sticker. That basically says everything. Okay, so those were all the questions you guys asked me. Thank you so much for asking these questions. I will have the non-bookish Q&A answers coming up soon. If you want to ask me a non-bookish question, do so in the comments down below, because I still have to film that video, so I can still answer lots of questions. Thank you so much for watching, and please let me know in the comment section down below who your ultimate book boyfriend is, or what was your best read of 2018 so far. Thank you so much for watching, and please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have another video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!